Ladies and gentlemen, as difficult as it may be to believe, it was 60 years ago, July 16th, 1960, that the Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson Sr. was arrested for the first time in his life, committing an act of civil disobedience. And we have Reverend Jackson here now to share that experience with us. Reverend Jackson, how you doing, man?
Very well, sir.
Congratulations on your 60th anniversary. First of all, a lot of people don't know the story. They know about you at A&T. But before you went to A&T, you went to the University of Illinois, right?
Went there as a football player, and actually what happened was I was in a senior speech class, and I had to do a speech with 25 annotated bibliographers. I was home for the first time, and I went to the colored library. They didn't have enough books. So go to the downtown, my friend will give you the books. I got there, and two police were with her, and they were laughing. I thought it was not coincidental. And she said, I'll give it to you in a week. I said, it's just two of us. Let me get them now. Please hear what she said. And I got the message. I cried. I was hurt. Leaving my friends the first time I hadn't seen them in 6 months mark. So that summer, that January actually, Jackie Robinson came to Greenville during a state NAACP convention. Mrs. Hall at the airport refused to sit in the colored section because it was dirty. And so that was Reverend Hall of 1,500 people, January the 1st. The city in Greenville was February the 1st. So it was a pregnant moment, Mark. July the 16th, we gathered, eight of us gathered together at Springfield Baptist Church. Reverend Hall was pastor. Went to the library, we were arrested.
At the time, were Black students even allowed to stay in the library or be in there for any length of time?
No. Matter of fact, there was not a single Black policeman, no deputy sheriff, no highway patrolman. We couldn't run the room at Holiday Inn. We couldn't buy ice cream at Howard Johnson. We live in a race bubble. In your bubble, you may develop a comfort zone. You're equally separate. But the resource is not equal. You know, persons have segregated dreams, segregated ambitions. You know, your ambition is to become a legislator or a congressperson. So that was limited. We didn't feel inferior, our conditions were inferior. We felt good about ourselves, but our conditions were quite limited.
And it's interesting, you were just there for knowledge and education. You went there to get books for your homework assignment, and that was denied you.
Well, actually, you know, in slavery time, if you got taught raping a slave, you were not charged. You got taught beating a slave. That's how teaching them to read and write. It's always clear that reading is the key to revolution. Literacy is the key to liberation. It's interesting that most of our struggle is around libraries and transportation. You read, write, count, and move is not compatible with slavery.
Right, it can't coexist. Did you know then that you'd be going to jail for 60 years thereafter? Did you imagine that?
Well, I didn't. It was really somewhat impulsive. You know, we hit the outer edges of segregation. There's no Black working downtown at J.C. Penney, Belson, selling clothes. We couldn't sell shoes. We didn't own the service. We were just locked out. But again, we developed a comfort zone. So once I lost my fear of jails and death that day. I remember coming home, and I felt good about what we had done. And my dad was sitting in the street in the number 2 tub, relaxing. And so I thought he would be happy. He said, son, I said, y'all downtown, I said, on television downtown, you're hungry? I said, no, sir. You usually go up kind of where y'all do that kind of stuff. That he was afraid the house would be bombed, and mother would be killed, and the beauty shop next door. I learned my courage from him. Well, the dad was a judge at 3 different buildings for the same man. One Sunday, I was about 8 or 9. My brother was about 5 or 6, and his boss came in. On the prisoner, hey Charlie, come here. Dad was buffing. I said, come here. You should show up for his friends. They said, if you don't come, I'm gonna kick you. Dad stopped, took his belt off with his big wad of chain, keys on his chain. So you take the guy, I can't stop you from kicking me. You can't take the leg back you were kicking with. You know my wife is sick and it's my only job. But he showed dignity over. My politics came from my dad is converted that man that Sunday afternoon. So I thought Dad would be proud of what I'd done. But Dad, in fact, was afraid that if we, in fact, protested, that we'd be bombed. And eventually they did burn our high school down. They burned the church down that we left from Springfield Baptist Church in Greenville.
Mm-hmm. You all were arrested on that day. How long did they keep you in jail, Reverend?
It was a process in 2000 process. It didn't put us in jail per se.
Okay.
The reason I was slow to talk about it, I can't brag about it too much. We were told in the orientation, the Christians don't respond. They put a cigarette in your neck, take it. Be nonviolent, be disciplined. So we were prepared for the worst. You probably arrest. We got that, and the police said, now, by the count of 3, if you don't leave, we're going to arrest you. 1, 2, we turned around, went back to church. We went home and said, why get back? They're going to arrest you. He said, hell, I sent you to get arrested. We went back the second time. Yeah, I meant to go to jail. And so really, it was an exciting moment in our lives. And I was talking with 6 of my classmates in jail meetings last night.
Oh, really?
My receiver, one of our mates, the professor at Thompson. Another one, the First Baptist University of South Carolina. So really, we were chosen well. We had the discipline to take on the fight.
Yeah. And the bug bit you then, didn't it?
Yeah, it became a struggle for dignity. I went to A&T that fall.
Yes, sir.
The citizens had gone to A&T February the 1st, but by that fall, they were back as usual. And SNCC was formed that spring in Raleigh at Shaw University. John Lewis and Julian Vaughn and Marion Barry and Alva Thompson and Diane Nash and Ella Norton, that group. And so it's interesting. We were thinking about sitting in Greenville. Nashville planning to it with Jim Lawson, Shane Bevel, and Bernard Lafayette. Greensboro did it, like 200-mile radius. It was a pregnant moment in time. And I think we represent our generation well. So we hooked up at SCLC with Dr. King. And I was the NAACP youth member at the time. And the Public Accommodation Bill was a swipe. The day he gave the speech in Washington, from Texas to Florida to Maryland, we could use a single public toilet. My high school class could take a picture on London State Capitol. I think about where we are today. Black males in Montgomery, Alabama, and Selma, Alabama, and Birmingham, Alabama. Dr. King never saw a black man in Atlanta.
Yeah.
We had 4 since he was killed.
Yeah.
And what it means to have 60 blacks in the Congress. 3 more blacks elected last Tuesday in New York and in Virginia. And that's because for the first time, and this way, some whites began to vote for blacks the first time. These guys won the majority of white districts. There's something afoot now that's worth embracing.
Do you see in many of the young people today, in this moment of reckoning, Black Lives Matter and all that, people still out demonstrating in the street? Our friend Tamika Mallory arrested to try to get Breonna Taylor's killers arrested just on yesterday. Do you see the activism of this generation as similar to what you did 60 years ago?
Yeah, it must be applauded. One thing we did, we connected with it. We didn't start something new. We extended something. That's important because SNCC started, It didn't last. Panthers didn't last. Those who were connected to Dr. King was connected to the National Baptist Convention. Kicked out, so no convention. But my point is, movements last. Our movement must have roots, must have depth, survive the long haul. But this generation of protests is magnificent. I appreciate every moment of it, and I march whenever I can.
Yes, sir. And we appreciate you still marching.
But see, what concerned me about Louisville, Breonna Taylor, 60 is the home of Ali. 70% of West Louisville doesn't have internet.
Yeah.
So while we focus on the police, be careful. Police represent the epidermis, the outer layer. This thing is bone deep, and inheritance and access mean more effort and hard work. And so it's not police patrol, they don't control. But beyond police at some point, there's those who control even the police. The banks that will not lend, the insurance companies will not invest. Access to mass media, to development. So while I applaud the struggle against police while patrolling, it's important. You know, in Minnesota, first time policemen have been arrested in the history of Minnesota for killing a black. But we talked with the prosecutor in the county. You can figure out when what's going to took over? What's his name? Ellison.
Keith Ellison, Attorney General.
Had 4 of them arrested. It's the power of the vote, power of a multiracial vote. I mean, you couldn't be the state attorney general in Minnesota unless you have a lot of white votes. Yeah. When the guy was killed in Atlanta, Georgia, Paul Howard, charged with murder. So the vote and marching and feet and multiracial coalitions really do work. Vote, marching and multiracial coalitions really do work. They are 3 biggest weapons, really.
Before we go, we'd be remiss if we didn't get another word from you. We always appreciate a word from you about the importance of voting, even this upcoming November. You are the one individual who has registered more voters than anyone in history. As we go, talk to us about how important it is to keep the vote front of mind and us voting front of mind as we head toward November.
Dr. King said one of the huge factors about voting was that when Emmett Till was killed and the killers testified in court, the jury knew who the killers were. They were almost bragging about done it. They was out like 30 minutes prior. I would have been short enough if we hadn't smoked a cigarette. There was no blacks on the jury. One black juror could have hung the jury. The New York Times asked one of the jurors, why didn't you convict that juror? I can imagine white men in jail for killing a nigger. We had only those who registered votes can serve on juries. Fast forward to Minnesota, I said to one of the young men in Minnesota, said, it's registered vote. I'm not in the system. I say, if George Floyd's killer came to court, would you convict him? I wouldn't talk out of convict him. I said, not let you register vote. Although the register can serve as jurors. So this thing has that. So whether it's the case of Minnesota, the case of Atlanta, well, the day before George Floyd's, the Tuesday before George Floyd's funeral, a black woman is now mayor of Ferguson, Missouri. That's a big deal, you know. And the right-wing congressman from Iowa was defeated. The vote. I had a conference call, you were part of it about a month ago. It brought tears to my eyes. Black mayor from Montgomery, Selma, Birmingham, Moss Point, Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana. I don't take that for granted, man. The vote has power. That's why they try to take it from us. Because we 5,000 black were lynched in 1940 about the vote. We'll vote with the passion this time. It will make a difference in November.
Reverend Jesse Jackson, folks, a protege of mine, wrote an article in the Huffington Post, I think it was last year, and the headline was, Jesse Jackson is the most important political figure in U.S. history. Brother Jahan Jones wrote that. You all should check that out. Reverend Jackson, happy 60th anniversary of your first arrest, and thank you for every arrest you've made and every time you've been arrested, I should say, since then. God bless you, Reverend.
Can I make this point? Zinzi Mandela died this week. My heart is so heavy.
Yes.
Nelson Mandela's daughter, Zinzi, a beautiful soul she was. I don't know how she died, but pray for the Mandela family, please.
Yes, we all should. Thank you, Reverend. We love you.
Love you.